Hi everyone. So I wanted to do a recording to give it a little bit of a demo and show how you can set up GhostRunner to do continuous integration for your JavaScript project. So I've got my server set up. This is actually just an Amazon web server, one of the micro ones in fact. I find them pretty good because they come pre-installed. You can get the one which is pre-installed with SQL Server Express, .NET, and IIS, which kind of some of the main things you need to get GhostRunner going. So here you can see I've got mine set up. I've got the setting turned off so you can't create new accounts, so people can't get to these scripts. But let's log in and see how this goes. So firstly, let me try and get this going. Try and do it. So this might take a second because, as I say, it's an Amazon micro web server, which can be a little bit slow depending on time of day and how much it's been used and stuff. So let's keep our fingers crossed this doesn't take too long. Okay, so while we're waiting, what I'm going to do is actually set up continuous integration sort of thing with the sandbox support thing. I thought it'd be kind of good to get that going just because it's actually something real which will allow people to see it actually working. Wow, this is really taking a long time. It doesn't usually take this long. Okay, so here we are. The main projects page. I'm going to create a new project just, to make things a bit easier. Okay, so as I say, I want to make it so that every time someone does a check-in to the board thing repository on GitHub, it's going to update the sandbox. So in order to do that, I'm going to really need to do 3 scripts. I'm going to need to have a git script to pull down the code, a grunt script which is going to compile it, and a command line script which is then going to do the push up to where it's hosted. So first of all, let's create a git script. I'm going to take the URL of the repository from GitHub. I mean, we're going to only have one script here, but we might as well give it a name just so it's, can't type. Okay, so that's created the git script. Next we're going to have a grunt, which is going to do the things like JavaScript uglifying, CSS compression and HTML uglifying and all that sort of thing. So let's call this sandbox compilation. I'm actually going to cut this here for a second because I don't want it, it has login information and things. So give me 2 seconds, I'll be right back. Okay, and we're back. I've set up the grunt script, and that should now compile all the code which we need and sort of get it ready for publishing. So last thing we need is to create the command line script, which is going to do the deployment to where we have the SOD sandbox hosted. So let's go. So I compile into a folder called build off the main. I use Modulus, which is modulus.io, which does the hosting for me. So I'm going to install their command line tool. Usually it's worth doing as control. For these things that you need to do them as global, for the command line stuff at least. Then I'm going to put some fake stuff in just so you can see how I would do it. These are all running one batch, so after it deploys, we need to do modulus login. Gmail.com. And then modulus deploy. Okay, so that would take whatever's in build and deploy it up to modulus under the project selected. Now I'm going to pause it again while I set it up with the real details. And we're back. Okay, so as you can see now we've got our 3 scripts set up. The git pull, the grunt compilation and the deployment. So what we're going to do is run those one after another. So let's create a sequence which allows us to run scripts one after another. So I'm going to create a new go to sequences and let's create a new one. Let's call this board thing sandbox deployment. Whoa, board thing sandbox deployment. Create. And then I'm just going to drag in the scripts in the order I want them to go. So I think it needs to do a git pull first. You can rename those if that you need to. And then I'm going to compile it and then deploy it. So I could reorder those if I wanted to, but that's actually the correct way. And that's it. That's the script created now. The sequence created now. So let's fire that off just so we can test that that's running. So go to history. See it's been processed, and now it's processing, and that's actually going to probably take a little while, just because it does a bit. So while we're actually doing that, let's set up the webhooks for the actual GitHub, so that when people actually do a push, it's going to fire off a task for us. So if you've not done this before, in your repository, you go into settings, and there's webhooks and services. We're going to add a webhook, and basically what this is going to do is just post to whatever URL we put. So in order to do it for GhostRunner, you take the first part of your URL. So in my case, it's gareth.go.ghostrunner.com/GhostRunner, which is just my setup which I've created. Then post, because we're going to post it. That's a Y. And then task, because we're creating a task. And then you'll notice that both scripts and sequences have an external ID, and that basically allows you to identify that when you're doing the post. So we're just going to put that into the end of the URL. Add webhook, and there we go, that's set up. So now every time there's a commit, that's going to push to send a post to that URL, which would create the sequence task. So let's see how this is doing. Okay, still processing. Okay, I'm going to actually break here, just because this can take a little bit of time, because it's doing all the deployment, and I'll come back and we can go from there. And we're back. Okay, it actually turns out that GitHub, when it sets up your webhook, will send off a post request just to sort of test it, I guess. So anyway, I just wanted to very quickly show you how this can work and how great it can be. So I've got my webhook set up and my sequence set up. So I'm looking at the cardboard sandbox, the board thing sandbox, and you can see it says sign into your existing account. I'm just going to test this out to check it all works. I'll make a really small change. So you can see here in the board thing code, it says sign into your existing account. So let's change this to accounts. Oh, it's on my other machine where I don't have the licensed version. Well, not the non-free version. So let's then commit this. So testing, sync it. This will think about it for a second. And if we're lucky, what should happen is a new task should appear within GhostRunner and just start processing. And that should be there now. Let's go and have a look. And there we go, processing. So this might take a little bit of time just because, as I say, it's on a slow server. I'll get back to you when that's done and just show you that it did actually work. Okay, so now we can see that it says that the task has completed, and let's go to board thing sandbox, and you can see here it said previously sign to your existing account. Let's give it a refresh, fingers crossed. Sign to your existing accounts. So that's it really. You can see by pretty easily setting up a sequence of scripts, you can make it so that every time that your code checks in, it's going to update your dev or sandbox machine. And constantly mean that you've got the latest version of the code which everyone's working against. So I hope people like that. If you've got any questions or things you'd like to change or things you don't like or do like, please do let me know. This is really a work in progress. So Anyway, thank you for your time. Bye.